This is Jolt Your Career with Teegan Bartos, the podcast for executives who aren't just looking for a job, they're crafting what's next. You won't find old school advice that doesn't work here, just bold conversations with leaders who have made game-changing moves and straight talk from people who have sat on every side of the hiring table. Whether you're confidentially exploring your next move or finding the job search harder than expected, this podcast is your unfair advantage.
It was her dream job, the kind of role people chase for years. Apple, global impact, the prestige, the paycheck, everything she thought she wanted. Until one day, it wasn't. Today's guest, Johanna Dahlman, had it all, but deep down, she was done playing a role that didn't fit anymore. She did what most people will never do. She walked away from the job, from the title, from the identity that was never truly hers. And what she stepped into was healing, purpose, and a business born from the pain she once tried to hide. In this episode, you'll hear what it really takes to let go of what you should want so you can create what you actually do. Okay, so let's rewind. When you landed your role at Apple, what did you believe it meant about you?
There was a lot of things. Let me just rewind a little bit. This was back in 2010, and the job market was pitiful. The economy was reeling from the 2008 financial situation of the housing market. I was in California, and even with a master's degree, because I had just graduated in 2010, still, it was really hard. I had friends who had E's, who had A's, who had PhDs, and they were not getting jobs. And, something told me innate, I need to leave California. California is done. And unfortunately, as much as I love the state, as much as I love all about California, it's just, I saw the expiration date. It was written on the wall, and I was like, I have to leave in order to get a job. I already knew it. And so mentally, I was already prepared. Lo and behold, this opportunity with Apple came, and it was out of state. So I moved to Texas for it. And so when that happened, it meant to me that you have to listen to your gut. That intuition was telling me you have to leave, whether you like it or not. That was one. Two, it also meant that I could actually build on my resume, and I've just hit the #1 company in the world to work for. So I was absolutely elated. It wasn't easy. There was 7 interviews, and there was just lots of in-person. And then finally, I actually made it. And even from there, it's not so easy, because within 2-3 months, you're either on the chopping block or you can actually make it. And at one point, it was a little nerve-wracking, because I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then I actually excelled and became #1 in my department, grew the department over 400% in 1 year, branched out into Latin America. I was traveling around the world for different events, for different store openings, or for different things on a global scale. And it was very exciting, very just gratifying and fulfilling on many levels. And to me, it meant, yeah, I made it. I am as smart as I think I am. Yeah, I am as good as I think I am. And this was that stamp of approval.
Your intuition is something that is beyond fascinating to me. But hearing post-grad to knowing your story that our listeners don't know yet, I'm curious. And because I actually don't know this. Was something always off, or for a certain point in time, this run, the prestige, the global impact, what was it fantastic for a time?
It was new, it was exciting, and it was that glimmer of light. Mind you, 2010, right? When everyone is in foreclosure, underwater, and the economy is much worse than it was now. And so that perspective, it gave me a lot of gratitude. Because I landed something, and not just something fabulous, something great. Also something I could believe in, something I can join, something I could commit to, something that I felt was a perfect match in many ways. And it was exciting and it was thrilling and I learned a lot. But as a person who's always hungry for knowledge, who's always hungry to and keep going and keep escalating, I wanted more and I started to see the roadblocks. I
Yeah.
started to see the dead ends, maybe in many ways. And then when you start looking at things on a personal level, which in my case I was because I was in my 30s and I was still single, but then I also saw how working for Apple, I became married to it. It was days, nights, weekends, months abroad. My last project was being a full month and a half in Rio de Janeiro. And for some people, that sounds amazing. And I will say, I love Rio. I had studied there. I speak Portuguese. I speak Spanish fluently. I love Rio. But at the same time, having your weekends taken away from the opportunity to be with friends, to be with family, to go on a date, to meet the love of your life, all these things were just snipped away little by little. And so it got to the point where I came to a crossroads. It was either I stay married to my job and be single and motherless, or I leave, I forge my own path, I do what I can to find the love of my life, get married and have my children and do what I want. And it came to me like that was needed. And it's not that I wanted to leave Apple because I think it's a fantastic company. I love the culture. I love the people who I work with. I'm still friends with many of those people who I used to work with. It's a special breed of people. It's a very special breed. And so being in corporate and having that experience was just so gratifying on so many levels. But it did come to the point where, okay, my options are limited here, my options are limited there, there's dead ends here. Do I really want to move to Cupertino? Do I really want to do this? You start mapping it out.
Yep.
You start seeing what's possible and what resonates with you. And nothing was really resonating.
You knew you couldn't do it anymore, but what belief was it that you had to kill in order to walk away? Because it all makes sense in hindsight, but when you're in it, it's so hard to make that choice.
It is. It is. But the thing is, the future me wanted to be in a loving relationship. The future me wanted to be a mom. The future me wanted all that. And I was living in Miami at the time because that's where the Latin American office is located. And the opportunities to meet somebody.
It's a party city.
Right. In Miami, that's not really possible. I had given it a chance. I had lived there already for 5, 6 years. And so nothing was happening. And once you start sort of like the writing on the wall, then it's not you, it's them, and you need to leave. Right. And so I knew I need to leave Miami. But in order to leave Miami, that's also leaving my job.
Yeah.
That's also leaving everything behind.
So you quit.
Yes.
And then what? Now
I quit. And the thing is, on my last day, I'm going to share this with you. On my last day, everyone was surprised. They're like, "You're so happy. Why? Why are you so happy and you're leaving?" And I'm like, it's absolute choice. It's freedom. It's empowerment. It's like, I'm doing what I want. I'm going for what I want. And it was that inner belief that I can have what I want, but maybe it's not going to be set up in this scenario. I'm not necessarily meant to, let's say, be in Miami the rest of my life and die there.
Yeah.
Or even have my family there. I started looking. It's not like I didn't ever date in Miami. I did. And it's not like I didn't ever look into schools and what that looked like, or family-friendly housing or family-friendly communities or neighborhoods or this and that. And and still none of it just sat well with me in terms of the whole idea. The whole idea. There was people commuting like 2 hours because they lived in Boca and would commute to Miami proper to get to work. Because in Boca, it was more family friendly, it was more like clean and conservative versus Miami proper. And so it's just like, I don't want to commute 2 hours. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. So I was looking at all the options and what everyone else was doing, and none of it resonated with me. And so that's when I knew, you know what? My time has ended with how I've got to go. And people were astonished that I chose to leave, because normally you're getting a tap on the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around. And so here it was the other way around. And yeah, I was happy because this was going to give me the freedom, the release of these golden handcuffs, so to speak, to be able to go and forge my new path in my future. And once I moved from Miami, in the first month of being in Denver, I met my husband. First month.
See, this is what I'm talking about with your intuition. You listen to it and the universe rewards you. It is fascinating to me. So, fast forwarding, you
Yeah.
are now the CEO and founder of Alopecia Angel. How did that happen? Where did your story take you to decide to support individuals who are experiencing, for those of you who don't know what alopecia is, it's essentially hair loss, right?
It's the medical term for hair loss. However, the type of hair loss that I went through was autoimmune hair loss. That's alopecia areata, and I lost over 50% of my hair. With every decision, there's a consequence. Let's just go ahead and say that. So, between this whole situation of moving to Miami, moving to Denver, the transition of leaving Apple, the transition of leaving this identity of corporate, of so many other things played and factors that were involved. And all of a sudden, I found myself diagnosed with alopecia. And that also gave me the space because working in corporate, I would have continued on this hamster wheel.
Yeah.
But having left, it gave me some space, some time to focus on me, not just on my health, but then also on those other aspects. Like I said, I met my husband, but it's not like you meet somebody and in 24 hours you're getting married or engaged. It took at least 6 months for him to be like, okay, I want to marry you.
Oh,
And then from there, you start planning things out because he was living abroad, he was a nomad, all these other puzzle pieces. It wasn't like I'm from Denver or from Colorado. He was not from Colorado either. So there was a lot of parts to this. It wasn't so streamlined. Hence the diagnosis. I actually was in denial with the diagnosis for at least a good 6 months, thinking like, oh, it'll just grow back, it'll just do something. And then when I was truly diagnosed with my hairstylist, that's reality kind of set in. I'm there at the salon getting my highlights in, and he tells me, oh, Johanna, you have alopecia, you need to go see a doctor. And from there, it's kind of like my world was turned upside down. I was on a high because I'm in love and I'm about to take those next steps of getting engaged and getting married. And yet I have this diagnosis looming. And when you start doing the research, you start to see that once you have one autoimmune disease, 25% of people go on to acquire a second and a third. So for anyone out there, your health is priceless. It's so much more valuable than any job or any position. The next piece of advice I would say is don't let it linger. Do something about it because the more you let it linger, the more you open up those doors for a second and a third autoimmune disease. So in my research and in my quest to heal myself, to get answers, to get results, I went to one doctor and two doctors and three and four and five and six. And I saw various doctors in Colorado, in California, and in the Netherlands. So I got engaged and we moved to the Netherlands together. And I lived there for another like 6 years, 7 years. And the medical healthcare system there is universal. So for those of you thinking that the grass is greener in Europe, it's not. And I tell you this firsthand, not just trying to heal myself with the alopecia with the doctors there because they were no help, but then also having gone through, I should say, a pregnancy at 40 in the Netherlands and never had the option to see a doctor ever.
while you were pregnant?
While I was pregnant.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like many times Americans think the grass is greener abroad, and it's not, especially when it comes to healthcare. Healthcare is like, it's my obsession at this point. Healthcare, just health and wellness all around, thriving and being your best, biohacking, all of it is what I'm really, it's my cup of tea. It's what I'm obsessed with. And after it took me 40 years to heal myself and reverse the symptoms, the ancillary symptoms, plus the hair loss to have it grow back. Now in my mid 40s, the only concern I have are the gray hairs that come in. But my hair grows an inch a month, an absolute inch a month. And so it's priceless to
You
have.
would never know. Anybody who can see you, and I'm going to make sure that I get a clip of your locks because your hair is stunning. No one would ever look at you and think you had 50% hair loss at one point.
I lost eyebrows. I was losing eyelashes. I had an extra inch of forehead.
Oh,
It was the scariest thing. And I got to tell you, I was already healthy. So for those of you who are thinking like, why is this happening to me? Because I'm already healthy and on top of it, I got a diagnosis. It happens all the time. You don't necessarily have to be obese. You don't necessarily have to be with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. You don't necessarily have to have a long history of cancers or anything else. Like I was and am the healthiest person in my family. We don't have any autoimmune diseases whatsoever in my family. I was already health and fit living in Miami. You have to be beach bikini body ready. Like that's part of the resume.
Yes, yeah, it's the
Um,
culture of
yeah,
absolutely.
I had a personal trainer. Like I was already fit. And yet this diagnosis came about. And so this is where I was absolutely puzzled. I was taken aback and it made me rethink, reevaluate, and just reanalyze everything, my whole life, my what I wanted, where I wanted to go, just everything. And then after those 4 grueling years of healing, then that's when Alopecia Angel was born.
Oh, I have chills right now. I mean, just the average person that's listening in is not going to be as healthy as you were. The executives that I work with, they are stretched so thin. And I know sometimes we're our own worst enemy, and that our fitness suffers, our sleep suffers, our hydration suffers. And to think that something like that could happen where when you're at the peak of your career, when you're at the peak of your love life, it just makes you pause and think about what's truly important and how well do we really know ourselves and what the consequences for success is. So you took 4 years to heal. So I'm wondering now, what is your definition of success and how does it feel different in your body?
That's a great question because I think before in my very immature state, I was thinking of success of having the titles and having the identity and having this and having that. And yet today, first and foremost, it's health. First
Yeah.
and foremost. And a lot of that comes through self-love, self-care. And these are catchy terms and trendy terms, but really, it's about investing in yourself. Like, let me just say it. It's about investing in yourself. I would have not healed had I not invested in myself. I would not be where I am today, having my getting pregnant at 40 at the first try, everything upgraded, not just the hair, the health, the fertility, everything. It's a ripple effect and it's all connected. So to me, health is priceless and I invest heavily into it. And I invest heavily into it for my family, for my husband, for my child, everything. And I do become like that obsessive mom, monitoring things at school, monitoring things at the daycare, monitoring things at camp, because again, his health is my priority. And it's only when it's taken away, it's only when you have a diagnosis, does that wake up call actually tell you something bigger. It tells you that A, you need to reevaluate what you're doing, how you're living, how things are going, because A, it's not sustainable, and B, it could open up the door to more things if you keep pushing it aside or keep trying to clean it up under the rug. The thing is, there's so much we can be doing. And first off, I was never taught nutrition. I was never, taught health and wellness from my mom or family members. And so the thing is, it's like, I don't think any of us have a roadmap to be a parent, to be financially successful, to be super uber healthy. We know just superficial things online. But the thing is, as modern life keeps taking place, things get more convoluted and there's more misinformation now than ever before. And so this is the hardest part about trying to go about healing, even if you are using doctors or acupuncturists or traditional Chinese medicine or anything else. It's so convoluted. And the thing is, not one way is necessarily going to help you. And then on top of it, it's never just one factor. It's just so many things that are involved. It's a big puzzle piece. And identifying that is the hardest part. And this is why I created Alopecia Angel, because the situation of being stuck, of being in a plateau, of seeing my hair just keep falling out, of having like this massive forehead just come about. And on top of it, like it wasn't just one bald spot, it was 2 and 3 and 4, and then they start connecting. That's how alopecia areata starts. And then they start connecting. So then now you have a bigger, wider range of baldness area until you actually completely lose all your hair. And that's where you see bald women or men or children today where they have alopecia totalis or universalis. But you can heal from that all 100% naturally. The reason I never went with the medications or anything else was because they all harmed fertility. They all harmed your immune system. They all harmed other areas and other organs in you, which didn't make sense to me. It's like, why are we trying to get hair, but then hindering other areas of our health? It just didn't make sense. And so having that out of box thinking from Apple actually helped me to heal myself, because that's what it took. It took an out of the box scenario in order for this to happen.
That is one of the biggest frustrations of healthcare systems anywhere, is that they have to follow the rules, and that it's not always what's best. It's who lobbies the most, or who's going to have a monopoly on whatever medication and things of that nature. And what you have built is amazing. For anybody who is dealing with an autoimmune issue, Johanna's information is going to be in the show notes. You should absolutely reach out to her. For anyone who's on a quest of true health, be sure to follow her, because there's so much information out there that it can be overwhelming. And being a part of a community where you can get access to credible, well-researched information and resources, it's beyond helpful. It took her 4 years. It takes her clients 90 days. It's amazing what you've been able to do. I know I was Googling you, and
actually less than 8 weeks. Less than 8 weeks, and they start to see hair growth.
Holy shit. Okay, that's wild.
Yeah, less than 8 weeks. Sign me up.
Sign me up. Are you? Yes. When I was looking at like when I Googled you and I'm seeing biohacking conferences and all of these different podcasts and Ford appearances and all this, it is amazing the type of visibility that you are giving to this cause that other people just ignore. And women, especially executive women, we're more likely to develop an autoimmune disorder because we're not fully caring for ourselves, because we're doing it all. And hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it does, there is a resource. Now, for the people who maybe don't have an autoimmune disease, but are quietly questioning their path and feeling beyond inspired, holy shit, I am a 40-year-old woman and still single, and I would like to have children. I actually was with someone this weekend who said, yeah, I'm turning 40 and I'm thinking about having a child on my own because I just haven't been able to find a relationship, but I would love to be a mother. And I was talking to a gentleman who feels so isolated because it's really difficult to date in this day and age. And with him being a top performing real estate agent, it's just, what do people want you for? It's so complicated. Careers, relationships, holistic life. So people who don't really feel like they have someone to talk to, but they're starting to question their path, what do they really need to hear today?
They need to be honest. They need to be honest with themselves, like really write down on a piece of paper, like, what is it that you want? An hour or two and start journaling. What is it that you want? 5-year, 10-year, a 20-year plan. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in a hammock by yourself with your big bank accounts? Or do you want to see that shared with a wife or a partner or children or maybe some pets or on a big ranch? What is it? Because you know what, like this time frame that we have, this next 5 to 10 years goes so fast. My time at Apple, because it was like head down, go, it went by so fast. And you try to take in as much as possible, but then it's fleeting. Even my time in Europe, living there for 5-6 years, it was fleeting. It felt like forever. Trust me, especially with the hair loss, it felt like forever. But at the same time, it's really fleeting. And then lo and behold, after that, it was Japan. And now we're back here to the US. And it's like, I'm just about celebrating almost more than 10 years with my husband. The thing is, it's like, I know, right? But the thing is, it's just like time goes by fast. And so today is the best day to plant those intentions and do it now. It should have been earlier. And in many ways, I even struggle with this myself. I was like, I wanted to have more kids. Maybe I should have started sooner. Maybe I should have planned for this, because there's people who I know who, they're 20 years in and they're like, I want to have 5 kids. I want to have 8 kids and we're going to plan for it. That was never me though. I never wanted kids at 21, 25, 28.
Me neither.
Was never it. To me, it was all corporate. It was all like escalating, grabbing onto that ladder and climbing it as fast and as hard as I could. But that's me. And so I'm happy with where I'm at. And going back to your question of like, how do I define success? Success is being in a loving relationship and nurturing it and taking those vacations that I want to do, making those family memories. Like now that our son is small, like making those memories are so important and they're so critical for his development, but for us too, because in a blink of an eye, he's going to be off to college.
That hurts my mom heart.
It does. But the thing is, it's like when you start reading the statistics, whether it is trying to have a baby at 40 or whether it is the age around that you die, 75, 76, or even the amount of time you get to spend with your child past the age of 12, it's less and less. So it's like now you have to really sink your teeth into it. You have to grab life by the horns in many cases and just do as much as you can. And if some things need to be on the back burner ever so slightly or on auto control or autopilot, so be it. That doesn't mean, our careers don't progress, but maybe the important thing, and this is like where my situation with Apple was, is like my career was still important and I was still hungry for the corporate ladder, but I also wanted the nourishment, the fulfillment, the loving relationship. I still wanted to be a mom. I still wanted other things that, lo and behold, were more important than my career, more important than my title, more important than traveling all the way around the world to over 65 countries and being a nomad, more important than so many things. So what is more important to you? And focus on that. At the time, of healing my alopecia, it was that. But even before alopecia, it was dating and finding my mate. I found him, thankfully. I found him.
And you still have traditional success. You're a CEO. You have a team. You have global impact. And you have the family. And you have the flexibility. And you have the health. And so it's amazing how when you have something and you think that it's everything and you follow that intuition, you chart the course of the life that you actually want. You may still have all those things, but you open space for everything else that you want too. And it's beautiful when people can do that for themselves. And so for everybody who's tuning in here today, where can people go if they're ready to heal and connect with your work?
AlopeciaAngel.com would be the first spot. There you can connect with all my social media, with my podcast. You can grab a free consultation. You can grab free downloads and so much more, even a free training.
Awesome. Johanna's story reminds us that this life moves in seasons. And just because something was right doesn't mean it still is. There's no shame in outgrowing a dream. There's no failure in pivoting and no regression in choosing a new path. There's just the next step. And if we're brave enough to take it, to trust the pull, even when it doesn't make sense on paper, this is the one life we get. It opens up in ways we couldn't script. So if something in you knows that it's time to turn the page, we both say, listen to it. You don't need to have everything mapped out. You just need the courage to take one next step. Johanna took hers, and it led to healing, purpose, and a life fully aligned. You don't have to burn it all down. You just have to stop betraying what you already know. If this conversation stirred something in you, share it, tag us, message us. Let this be the moment you choose something new.
Thanks for listening to Jolt Your Career with Teegan Bartos. If this sparked something or called BS on what's holding you back, share it, subscribe, and connect with me at Jolt Your Career. More real stories, smarter strategies, and zero fluff coming your way because executive careers don't run on autopilot.